I see Jane Holmgaard ready. And Federico, please join me. Step into our little studio. Congratulations. I think ladies first. Jane, if you come stand here. And yeah,
Okay,
here we
thank
go.
you.
Great job. Thanks for sharing your projects with us. I hope those of you who joined later, in brief, you are working on bringing the circular economy to small and medium enterprises, right? And you are working in the theme of environment and resource efficiency to create more
It's more.
energy efficiency,
It's
right?
more. Actually, it's more low carbon.
Low carbon.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great job.
But yeah, they're very much related. So.
A lot of our viewers, we learned, are actually here because they want to apply to a project. And you are now some of these experienced, and I understood you were in the previous program as well, so you're very experienced in applying for projects and being successful in that. So let's see if we can share some tips. Before I go to the questions from some of our online audience, what is your first best tip that comes to mind when our viewers, top of head, before we go deeper in, what would you say?
Well, I would say, well, first of all, well, trusted partners also.
Yeah?
That's the
The key,
basis.
the partnership.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, that doesn't mean that you can't open up to new partners. Actually, there are a lot of new partners.
Because that's
in our
what you
project.
mean when
Yeah.
you say trusted partners. That's go into partnerships with people you already have a relation with.
Yeah, I mean, at least one or two or whatever, or people with whom you know that you can build a trustworthy relationship.
Exactly.
And that you know that you maybe they're new people, like people that you just met, but before getting into a project, you have to know that this is that's gonna be.
Do you give this tip because you have a bad experience with this? Did you
Uh,
encounter something with a bad project manager or a new person that didn't work out?
Well, yeah, in past
You don't have to
projects,
name
yeah, no,
names.
in
Yeah.
past, no, of course, yeah, but yeah, in past projects that happened.
Alright.
We weren't coordinators or whatever, but
So what
yeah,
went wrong?
well, just you sometimes you have to find partners from geographical new locations or whatever, and that
Yeah,
that
you just have
doesn't,
to pick
yeah,
one
you
to
just,
make sure you
yeah,
cover your
exactly.
regions.
That's the, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's better. I mean, my guess it's better to avoid this kind of situation, and either I mean, when I say trusted partners, it's not somebody that I know for sure, but like it's also like partner from a partner that I've never met, but that
Exactly.
the partner
You
has
have a
already
tie.
that's like.
Yeah.
And I mean, we met some of our partners. We just met them at the previous
The
Let's
forum in
Cooperate.
Bologna.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, in
All
Bologna.
right.
I mean, we didn't know that, but then we had Skype and everything, and
So
we
a
just
second tip would be attend the live events that
also,
interact either
yeah,
locally or
yeah.
forum like this. Jane, if you could step in a little bit, so I'm not covering
Yeah.
your face in the light. Do you agree with his tip? And how did you find your partners? Because you just
Yeah.
mentioned you have 10, all trusted partners.
Yeah. Well, very much so. I think the partnership is key to the project's success. I think a way to come around that would be to meet in person for a preparation meeting, which I did, because it's always better to look each other into the eyes and see if we understand the same things with the things we say, and it's always harder to do it by email or Skype. So yeah. So having 24 hours spent together, developing the project.
Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Like a pressure cooker type of meeting
Yeah.
where all of you came together?
Yeah.
And was that did you design that yourself or did you have external moderators? How does
No,
that
I
work?
did it myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody came to Denmark.
Almost everybody came to Denmark. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice tip. What would your top of your head tip be? And I'm gonna put you because I see the shade. The lamp is there. What would your top of your mind best tip be for people considering to apply for the next call for projects?
Make sure that you understand what the program is really about.
This program.
Yes. Read the manual carefully. Listen to what the JS is telling that they want and what they are looking for. That is really important.
And make sure you stay watching because at the end of this coffee break, we will actually talk to Nicholas Singer, who knows all about all the ways that that you can actually get feedback from Interact before you submit your project. Shall we take some questions from our online audience? Again, Raluca, if anything comes in during the talk, if you have any questions during our discussion right here, make sure you type them in the question box or hashtag Europe Cooperates. I already copied a few while you guys were on stage. Some of them might even be from during Steve Sampson when he joined here, another approved project. Quite a few questions kind of kind of go into the direction of how to involve, as I paraphrase that question, how to involve the real world. Because obviously we're kind of on a meta level here, right? We're into policy improvement, and policy is already to make improvements in the real world, and now we're in secondary policy improvement. So can you share some best practices, how you tied up in your case, or in your case with the actual small and medium enterprises, or in your case with the local energy consumers? Who'd like to pick that one first? Ladies first. Okay, let's go. The real world. So in your circular economy project, how are the small and medium enterprises involved?
Well, during phase one, it's pretty much about the development of the tools and the customization of them. But we will bring in some enterprises to get their feedback on how does this tool work for you. What is your real barrier? What are the barriers you face, and how to overcome them? How can we help you? How can we support you? What do you need to take this step or to make the decision? And then I think this is what phase two is really all about. It's to implement this into the real target group.
We'll get to that in a second, because we have quite some questions about that as well. But when you say in phase one, I just want to use my SMEs, small enterprises, as a research pool. I use them for research. And how do you organize that? Very practically.
Very practically, we all have a local support group, and then once in a while we will bring in the SMEs.
Of how many organizations?
It's not settled yet.
Okay.
I'm just starting
I
to
know.
inviting
We all
them
know
in.
But what do you envision? Is it 10, 50, 100?
No, 6 to 7.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Organizations that you invite to actively be involved.
Yeah, and maybe they will not be gathered at the same meeting, all of them, but in bilateral meetings. It's,
all right.
It depends. Yeah, and then I'll bring in the SMEs as well to some of the meetings.
To the meetings with the policymakers to actually have their real-time feedback. Good job. Well, Reluca raises her hands, means, Reluca, we have an online question live. Yes, come in.
Yes, we have a question for Jane.
Yeah.
Jane, can you see me? And
if you
hear
speak
me?
loud.
Okay, so the question is, do you have other partners from Denmark involved in your project?
If I have
Other partners from
Other
Denmark.
partners
Yeah.
from
We see
Denmark.
quite some questions about that. Like, how many partners can you have from the same country? Do you have other Danish partners in your project involved?
I have the managing authority, they are the partner as well.
Yeah, because
Besides
we
me,
heard you
yeah.
talk about
But
that. That you
besides
found
that,
that very
no.
important. No, exactly. And are they actively involved, or are they just supporting, like we talked about?
They're actively involved.
Actively
yeah,
involved.
so they're going to take part in all the meetings going on.
All right. And what's their stake? Why did you? How did you convince them to actually make time for this?
Well, it was pretty easy actually, because they know about the former project, which was quite successful. So I think it was easy, and also because we have this money within circular economy, it's new thing in the strategy, and we don't know how to implement this
Yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Federico, in your case, how do you involve the real world in your process?
I mean, when you talk about smart grids,
Because who are you aiming at, just to be sure? Because small, medium enterprises is kind of a
yeah,
clearly
that's
defined
that's
group.
A very good, that's a good question, because
Yeah.
when you talk about smart grids, you have the consumer, so the person who's at the end of the grid, let's say, who uses the electricity, and you have also the producers, of course, and everything that's in the middle. But also smart grids is also about technology, so you have the small SMEs,
grid
whatever,
management,
also the people who actually build the smart meters, for example, or they install the smart meters or whatever. So you have a lot of things at the same time. But then the other thing, what's very interesting about these projects is that the involvement of the stakeholders, it's you who decide how to involve them. So like, for example...
But how have you decided
so like,
on
for
that?
example, what we decided to... Okay, as Jane said, we have the local stakeholders group, and there we have all the people that are involved in the regional strategy for smart grid development. So you have the universities, because the technical part. You have also other business organization. But then what we actually wanted to do was to have a real engagement event, let's say. So we're gonna do that in all partner regions at some point during the project, where we're gonna have like a one-day event on smart grids, what they are for all the stakeholders involved. So that typically that's something that you can do during the.
What are you guys going to discuss at this event? Is this an event about policy improvement or evaluating policy tactics, or what is the core agenda there?
Yeah, it's more. Of course, that event is going to take place
I
in
know,
like
but we're dreaming,
but
right?
we're dreaming. So what I would really like this event to be, it's like an event where you communicate on what you're doing. You communicate what exactly this is, because for example, in smart grids, you have a big problem with consumers. They don't not everybody accepts the fact, like to have smart meters, for example, like
Yeah.
um, that everybody knows how to. I'm
What you
actually
use and
using
what you
energy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, for example, there's a lot of things at stake there. So, for example, an engagement event that it's like to reassure everybody to talk about big data, because every time you talk about the big data, that scares everybody. But that you just have to explain things the way they are simply, and so
Okay.
that's the kind of event that
The events and the knowledge sharing that you want to facilitate,
Exactly.
and from that
Yeah.
you're going to extract
Yeah.
your policy best
Yeah.
practices. All right. We talked a little bit about other countries involved. Let me look at Raluca. Let me see if some of the last minute stuff comes in, and otherwise. Yeah. Okay. You have one. Yeah. Shoot.
Yes, we have one more question for both for Jane and Federico. So, which activities in your project seem the most challenging to you?
Exactly.
Is it involving the MAs? Is it mobilizing ERDF funding or something else?
Exactly. And I think we talk. Well, let's explore, because we can talk about this in the pre-approval phase or in the post-approval phase. But let's talk about it a little bit in the pre-approval phase, because that's where most of our viewers was. What were your biggest challenges in getting that project together and apparently come up with a successful application, right? What were you struggling with?
I think one of the most challenging thing was that the organizations that came into the partnership work very, very differently. They make decisions differently, and they sign partner declarations differently. So I had a really, really tight deadline getting all these documents collected.
In term for the Interact
yes,
closing date?
and also because the wording is really, really important. If you just have one spelling wrong, the entire application will be denied. So
let's check that.
sometimes we had to go another round, and they were really not up to it. So.
All right. And what did you do to overcome that? Is that just
But you have to
sweat and hard work? Any practical tips, or just
day and
commitment,
night,
energy?
You have to.
All right, great. And Federico, how was that with you? What was your challenge in this application process?
Actually, our challenge was also to gathering the right partners together, because, as I said, smart grids, from
so
this
complex
perspective,
and
it's
so many
complex, but it's
stakeholders.
also relatively new. From this perspective, a lot of technological things going on and other European projects. But at the regional level, there are not a lot of regions that are engaged in this kind of. And since, I mean, with the new Interreg Europe program, you really need to have the ERDF funds, I mean, some engagement at the ERDF funds level. So it was very, very hard to find, that was actually somehow easy for us, for Brittany, because it's like a regional strategy and whatever, but to find other regions that had exactly the same budget lines in their ERDF, or not the same, but like similar.
Yeah.
That was very, very challenging.
And what did you do to overcome that?
Well, we had a look at the also the RIS 3 portal, the S3 policy platform.
Yeah.
So to find if other regions had like smart grids on their
So you were looking
specialization
online.
strategies. Yes.
Yeah.
And and then we started to call all the partners we know.
Raluca, did you see the last one about the example? Yeah, I want to take that and close that off. I saw that coming in here as well. And again, you guys are good online viewers. It's a pity you logged in as anonymous. I mean, if you just joined and you don't know how to change your name, click on the little 3 stripes and add your name so we can actually make a shout out to you. Because let's finish with this question again. We're so abstract and we're so meta in policy improvement. So this question is, could you give us one example in your project of an actual policy, an actual regional policy that you're trying to improve or impact?
But you have to do that when you do the application. You have to.
Okay, so for you it's easy, but apparently that doesn't come across
Okay,
yet. So
but if you
give us
look
an
into
example.
the application form, you have to write exactly which policy you're going to change by number, by headline, and describe it as well.
And how is that in the SME circular economy
Yeah,
project?
but it's always like that when you have the regional strategies, that they are also really broad in the strategy frameworks. So
you could now list one, but it doesn't make
yeah,
it
but
any
it's
more
just a
tangible.
headline.
Exactly.
Yeah, we want to improve green growth in general and circular economy in particular.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's still
And then
not,
it's
still
got a
super
number of
broad.
the chapter
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
strategy.
And how's
yeah.
that with you, Federico? Could you pick out like a concrete policy that you're actually trying to impact?
Yeah, well, as Jane said, I mean that also, like every region has this operational program, ERDF. So we chose that policy instrument, and then you go and have a look at all the budget lines and all the specific objectives and actions that are actually foreseen in the ERDF operational program. And well, for Brittany, as I said, smart grids are a real priority. So it happens that we had an action called smart grids, development of smart grids.
And
So
you could single
and
that out and
you
say
just
that's what we're
exactly,
working on.
yeah.